I'm Tyler, and I wanted to give a little update video on how I do my Kamado. I think it's been over a year, maybe a year and a half since I did my first video, and I've learned a lot in the past year and a half about different ways of doing things. A lot of people shared their experiences in the comments. For instance, I had my stand backwards, so that's fixed now. But there are a lot of really good comments about different ways of doing stuff, and this is the method that I've found that has worked really well. It's always producing clean smoke at this point. Occasionally I'll still have bad smoke, but I'll tell you what that's from here in a second. So I don't know if I had this in my last video or not, but I built this table to set the grill on, and I already talked about the different types of tables and stuff you can get, but as long as you get a table that has doesn't cover up too much of this, because the air needs to get into the vent, and it also is going to get hot. So whatever table you build or buy should preferably not cover up the vent at all, and not enclose the base too much, because it's going to get really hot. So that's a little bit about the table. Somebody was asking the dimensions. I just made it wide enough to comfortably fit the grill, and I had an old piece of granite, so I cut a piece off the back. I cut a piece of granite down to fit the right size. I have a little shelf underneath. It's a pretty basic table design. I didn't use any blueprints or anything. It's just a simple table. So regarding the canopy, I got this, I think 2 years ago maybe. I bought an extra top for it, and this one's already kind of ripping a little in some little spots, but I bought an extra one when I bought the canopy altogether. I think I got it at Lowe's or something, maybe $250. And someone was asking me about how I secured it so it didn't blow away. With the canopy, there was some feet that have holes in the feet. That's one of the holes, and there's another one here. I just took some concrete anchors and put them in these giant bricks. They're like patio blocks, and I sunk the anchor down there and screwed the canopy into that, and I got them on all four corners. This box is just a outside box that you'd use for like a pool supplies and stuff like that. And inside the box, nothing new too much here, except for this Kamado Joe charcoal. As a forward, I'm not sponsored by Kamado Joe or anything like that, but this charcoal is really, 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 really good. Some charcoal is also, there's other charcoals that are good, but this one's super dense. It's heavy. It doesn't burn super fast. It lasts forever, and I've found that to be the best charcoal. It's expensive. It's like $1 a pound, but I buy that because I really like it. I've tried a lot of charcoals, but this one's my favorite, and Royal Oak is my second favorite. Royal Oak burns really hot really fast, so I would use Royal Oak more for grilling and this more for smoking. Sometimes I mix them together. I have brown paper. The brown paper is what I use to start the grill, and I'm actually gonna light it here in a second. I believe that lighting the grill and building the firebox properly is the best way to ensure that you get the clean smoke that you want. If you follow some steps, like not overfilling the box, that someone had commented on my video that I was doing that on the first one. I think they were right. I was putting too much charcoal in there, and sometimes I think that can suffocate the flames, which will create a bunch of dirty smoke, and it'll make all your charcoal just simmer. And also, I've scrapped the charcoal chimney. I have one still hanging up over here. I'm probably gonna throw it away this year. I don't use the chimney anymore. I also got the kick ash basket. So let's take a look over here, and I'll show you how I light my grill now. This is the biggest update for the year and a half that I've been doing this. These are just nitrile gloves. I don't know if they're food safe or anything, but I don't actually touch food with them anyway. I don't know if you have to even worry about that, but they're just like cheap gloves that you get at Lowe's for
You pull it on me.
yeah.
Thanks. Just pull it down.
Oh.
Thanks.
They're just cheap gloves that you get at Lowe's. A pack of them for like $2.50. I think I got 5 in a pack. And so anyway, the grill. I take all the accessories out. My hands are kind of cold. Contrary to popular belief, you can smoke in just about any weather. As you can see, it's snowing. It's super cold. It's like 20 degrees. And I did a brisket, 2 brisket flats last night, and 6 pieces of chicken on the big grill.
Yep.
And on the little one, I'm gonna do some salmon later. So I'm gonna get ready for the salmon. But whew, these grills are so well insulated. You can really do great stuff with them. So anyway, here's the charcoal that's been left over from my last smoke. These kick ash baskets are really awesome. I actually bought the brand. There's a bunch of knockoffs, but I wanted to support the brand and also make sure I got a good quality basket that wasn't going to rust or whatever. I think they have a warranty on their baskets too, so I bought the brand. Another thing with Kamado Joe is they have a lifetime warranty, so you can see the crack in here. I've already talked to them about that, and they're getting me a new firebox. It's just back ordered, I guess, because of, you know, all the stuff that's back ordered in the world with COVID and whatnot. So the first step, getting all your accessories out, and then I just have this 5-gallon bucket down here on the ground. So I take your charcoal scooper that comes with the grill, pull it out, real basic. This is kind of like rocket science. If you can't figure out how to get the charcoal ashes out, this might not be for you. So once they're all out of there, I have these big bags from our local grocery store. Brown paper bags. This might not be quite enough. I usually take the bag and tear it in half. So if you want to come up here and get a shot of this. I just kind of roll it up and twist it to make a smaller footprint in the grill so that air can get to it better, and just kind of put it down in there. Yep. And then I take the charcoal basket, set it on top. Normally I have more charcoal in there, so if it's this light, I'm gonna add a couple more pieces. And I would do this is the same process I would follow regardless of whether I was smoking for 24 hours on this thing or smoking for 3 hours like I'm going to do with this salmon, or however long it is, couple hours, or if I was going to grill something at super high heat like a steak or a burger. This is the same process so far. Okay, I'm back. I forgot my torch. This is just a simple butane torch that you use for like creme brulee and stuff. I think it's cool, so I bought one of these instead of using those lighters and whatnot, the long stem lighters. I just like this. I have no idea why. So there we go. I'm not going to leave that there. Whatever you do with your lighters and your butane, don't leave it too close to your grill. In case you can't read, it says extreme danger, super duper flammable. So I'll set it up here just to be safe. I try not to leave it in the wet and whatnot. All right, so that's gonna just burn off some paper, and it will catch the charcoal on fire, and then I'll come back and show you the next step. All right, we're out here for the second time. I threw another handful of charcoal in there because I didn't have quite enough. So we just walk up here and show what it looks like. This is a really small fire, but it's pretty hot. And the thing about building fires for the Joe Jr. or any of the ceramics is that you can always make them hotter by adding more fuel, but making them colder is really hard to do. Once they have a big fire going, if you snuff it out, it seems like if you snuff it out, it will generate that nasty, not tasty smoke, because the fire that you had going doesn't have enough oxygen to continue for it to go the way it's going, so it just kind of smolders. And that's the same reason that I've chosen to light small fires now and build them big, as opposed to the way I was doing them in the first video and before, which is using a big chimney, filling it to the brim, filling the whole firebox, trying to get it super hot. That way just creates bad smoke usually, so this way is just way easier. So what I'm gonna do now, I've got a nice little fire going. I'm gonna, at this point, it's dependent on what you're cooking. So if you wanted to do a sear, you really probably could have put all this in the beginning if you're just trying to get a really hot grill. But for any kind of smoking, if you're doing a 24-hour cook or a 3-hour cook, that's going to determine how much you do at this point. I guess it doesn't have to, but it just kind of makes your life a little easier to do it that way. So if I was doing a long smoke, I would probably put more charcoal in than I'm going to do right now, but these days I just put in as much as I need. So for this, for 3 hours, actually that might be almost enough, but I'll just throw a couple more pieces in there. And if you're doing a long smoke and you find that you keep getting dirty fuel, then if you keep getting dirty smoke on a long smoke, then try limiting the amount of fuel that you're using in the beginning to something like this, because even this will last for a long time at 225. This would probably really last for like 10 hours. I can add more. I do have more room. You can see that the ring it's going to go right there with the once I put this plate on there, and you can actually go a little above the plate because the plate has a little room to move. So you could really fill it up to the top of the box, but this should be good for 8 hours probably, even on a day like today with the cold weather. So I'm just doing a 3-hour smoke, but I'm not real worried about it. I wouldn't really go too much more than this. Don't go past the ring for sure, and try and keep it about here. So at this point, now you get to pick the wood. That's my favorite part. What kind of wood should we use for the salmon, Chris? Pecan or apple?
Pecan.
Or cherry?
We haven't tried cherry before.
On the salmon?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're gonna go with cherry. So, get yourself a bag of chunks and not chips. There are some chips in there. They're gonna just burn off pretty quickly. So sometimes I'll just throw a handful of chips on there, and whatever makes it, and whatever doesn't, just, it's like that. And then some of them are gonna burn off, and most of them are gonna burn off fairly quickly. Then I'll put one little bigger, one piece that's a little larger on there.
Yep, you can already smell the change.
Yeah, it smells good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I'll put a piece about like that. This one's actually going to last though. Those other ones aren't going to make it. But, don't over smoke it. This is actually kind of a lot of wood, but like I said, those chips are just going to burn right off. Okay, so once we got that on there, you don't want to dilly-dally too long. I'm kind of doing a little bit of a dilly-dally because I'm talking and whatnot and explaining things, but you can see the fire's already getting hotter, and we don't want to get it too hot. So we put our utensils on there just like everybody else talks about in all their videos. This is nothing new here. And at this point, you could put a drip pan down there if you wanted to, but for salmon, it should be fine the way it is. If something has a lot of fat in it, then I use drip pans usually. I'll give you a tip for the grill grate, or for the chimney, for the top vent. If it ever gets stuck, this is like a really handy tool. You just take your scraper and just hit it like that, and it'll pop it open. And the same with this. It's a little stuck, so obviously you don't want to hammer on it because the grill's made of ceramic. But this gets a little stuck sometimes, the daisy wheel. And this smoke will clean up, so it's not really a big deal right now. It'll get clean. So we have my daisy wheel is just a little crack, and the top vent's still wide open, but I'm getting ready to close that too. So just really close the top daisy wheel down because you don't want hardly any heat when you're doing salmon. So I'm going to close this down really far, and then I'm going to get the rest of my flame boss ready, because if you're not using a flame boss, you can do this easily. Just come out and check on it, or put a meat thermometer in the salmon or whatever you're cooking and check it. But I use the Flame Boss, so I'm going to talk about that. You want to try and target 180 or 200. So do a little bit of a colder smoke than you normally do. It'll give the salmon time to retain some of the flavor, and I just think it tastes better like that. So let's talk about if you're not using a Flame Boss. I would just do a sliver down here about the size of your pinky, unless you're like Brian Shaw and you have giant pinkies. And then for the top, just a tiny little crack. And let it sit there for a while, come back and see what temperature it is. But for us, we're gonna use the Flame Boss. So I keep all my Flame Boss stuff out here, and I'm gonna plug it all up and get it ready. Somebody was asking me about the plate that I cut, because it doesn't come with a Kamado Junior size plate. But if you cut it the right size, if you cut it so that it fits in there like that for the Flame Boss, then not only will this plate work for this, but it will also work for the bigger one, the Classic. And the Classic one sits in there like that in the Classic. So pop that sucker in there. My hands are freezing right now. Are your hands cold?
No, I'm good now. Now I got that big mitten on.
I'm shivering.
It's cold out here.
All right, got that in there. And I always push the metal of the vent guard over top of the sheet metal that I put in there to hold the vent, to hold the blower in. That way, this won't ever fall out. Like, it's really well stuck in there. It won't fall out by accident, I should say that. You know, your kids might still pull it out or something. My kids don't ever mess with my grill. But, you know, somebody's kids might. They're pretty good about it. I just told them not to mess with it whenever they were little, and told them they could get hurt and whatnot. They've been pretty good about it. But this, the smoker's always running around here. Probably like
They're not even interested.
Yeah, they're not interested anymore at this point. Actually, that brings up another question. Somebody asked if you could use this like a fire pit, and we just did that the other day. I took it off and I set it on the deck, and I burned some. I just put charcoal in it and got it really hot, left it open, and I let the kids throw sticks and leaves and stuff in it, and so yeah, you can use it like a fire pit if you want, but I wouldn't put like logs in it. I wouldn't try to move it too much. If you're talking about like taking it on a trip, it's just, you can move it, but it's being ceramic, it could break. There are probably better grills for that kind of thing, like the Char Griller steel one that they make. Those are much more mobile. They're lighter, they won't crack. But for these, anyway, I set it on the deck and we had a little fire in it. It was fun. So yeah, you can do that, but you know, obviously they're meant for cooking, so. I think at this point, it's all hooked up. Let's check our temperature. Oh, 275, wow. Yeah, look how much smoke just came up from how fast that blower is blowing. So when I do the temperature setting on the Flame Boss, this actually took a lot of practice. What I do for the little one is I set it like 20 degrees below my target temperature. So if I'm targeting 180, I'm going to set it at 165. And since it's already done some calculations, you can hear the fan spinning pretty aggressively. I'm going to unplug it and just reset it, because there's algorithms in this thing that tell it when it's approaching the target temperature. And if it sits at too low of a temperature too long, like 120, and your target is 275 like mine was originally, then it's going to blow 100% for the fan until it gets really high. So when I lowered the temperature, I didn't want to mess with the algorithm that it had running, because the algorithm was calculated for 275, and even though I lowered it, I didn't want to mess with it. I didn't want to take the risk. So I always just unplug it and plug it back in at the right temperature just to start it over. because like I said, if you go over the temperature you're trying to get to, it's really hard to get it back down to where you want to be. On the junior, it's actually not too bad, but on the bigger one, it's a lot tougher. So we're gonna let this run, and all I do at this point is let it run, and when it says it's ready, I'll come back out and I'll put the salmon on.